Hey guys! Today we'll be covering a 2022 romance film called Love Like the Falling Petals, 2022. The movie begins with a man named Harudo Asakura taking pictures of the beautiful cherry blossoms of Japan. Still, he seems sad about something. The movie flashes back to the past, and Harudo is seen meeting the love of his life, Misaki Ariaki, for the first time. Misaki is a hairdresser who works in a salon. Upon seeing her, he instantly falls in love with her. He loves her cheerful attitude and her dedication to work. 6 months pass by, and Harudo becomes her regular customer. After suppressing his feelings for a long time, Harudo eventually works up the courage to ask her out. He confesses his feelings while getting a haircut, but when he turns around seeking a response from Misaki, his left earlobe gets mistakenly cut. Harudo begins to faint when Misaki cries and profusely apologizes. After the treatment, a guilt-ridden Misaki offers to do anything to make up for the accident. Taking this as an opportunity, Harudo asks her out to visit the cherry blossoms with him. In the next scene, it is revealed that Misaki's parents have already passed away, and she lives with their brother Takashi and his girlfriend Ayano. Misaki tells her brother about Harudo's proposal, but the latter is very protective of her and opposes the date. Luckily, Ayano convinces him to let her go and enjoy herself. Back at Harudo's place, he is worried about the lie he told to Misaki about being a photographer. He takes out his Nikon camera, which was gifted by his father, and starts recalling his past. It's revealed that he badly wanted to become a photographer, but he found the journey challenging, and he believed that he was not good enough. In the end, he just kept changing jobs and never fulfilled his dream. On the day of the date, Misaki and Harudo meet and visit the cherry blossoms together. Misaki tells him about her journey before asking him what inspired him to become a photographer. Harudo decides to come clean and tells her that he lied to her about being a photographer. Naturally, Misaki gets angry and expresses disappointment. She is upset that he took her for someone who would judge him based on his profession, and also because he abandoned his dreams so easily. After making him realize his mistakes, she walks away, leaving Harudo dejected. However, he promises to work hard and become a photographer. Harudo disappears from Misaki's life, and several months pass by. One day, he calls Misaki and tells her everything about his new job, where he works under a famous photographer. He also reveals that he got his first paycheck, which is a big one. After this, he again asks Misaki out on a date, and fortunately, she says yes. In the next scene, the duo meet for dinner, and Harudo gives her a scissor case. Misaki apologizes for cutting his ear, and the two have a great time. Later, while returning home, Harudo suddenly asks her to be his girlfriend, to which she says yes. With this, the two start spending time as a couple, and everything seems to be going well. One day, Misaki gets very sick and visits a doctor. She is told that her symptoms resemble a genetic disorder named progeroid syndrome, in which a person ages too quickly. Worried, Misaki looks up the disease online and is terrified by its effects. Due to this disease, she will age rapidly and die prematurely. Later, she goes to see fireworks with Harudo, where he proposes to marry her. Instead of giving him a concrete answer, Misaki just kisses him. Days pass by, and Misaki's condition starts getting worse. Nevertheless, she goes out with Harudo and takes pictures with his camera. When the camera has one frame left, she doesn't let him take her picture and takes Harudo's picture instead. That night, the two sleep together and have a wonderful time. However, their story comes to an abrupt end when Misaki wakes up in the middle of the night and leaves. 3 weeks pass by, and a desperate Harudo keeps texting her, but Misaki doesn't reply or return his calls. One day, Harudo decides to visit her workplace, but finds out that she quit her job. With no options left, Harudo finally visits her home, but her brother Takashi confronts him and mentions that Misaki is not interested in him anymore. He also tells Harudo to never come back to their place ever again. Some days later, Harudo brings all the photographs that Misaki took on his camera and asks Takashi to at least give them to her. After getting the photographs, Misaki finally calls Harudo to give him closure. However, she lies to him that she is reunited with her ex-boyfriend and has shifted to another city and doesn't want to see him anymore. The revelation breaks Harudo, and he starts crying and yelling like a maniac. As time passes by, Misaki starts aging rapidly. One day, Misaki and Takashi visit a doctor who tries electromagnetic wave therapy on her. Takashi is positive that it will reactivate her body cells and help her to recover. So, over the next few days, he regularly takes her to therapy. Meanwhile, a heartbroken Harudo finds it very difficult to live without Misaki. However, his colleague motivates him by telling him that he can use this heartbreak as a ladder to reach his goals, as she believes heartbreak creates great art. Taking her advice, Harudo deletes Misaki's contact number and decides to focus on his career. One day when Takashi takes Misaki to therapy, he finds out that the doctor has been arrested for scamming his patients. The only hope he had gets shattered, and he breaks down in despair. The same day, Misaki's condition gets worse and she is admitted to a rehabilitation center. Misaki looks at herself in her phone's camera and gets disheartened. Later, when she is discharged from the hospital, Ayano comes to pick her up. However, Misaki asks her to take her to the studio where Harudo works. From her car, she tries to catch a glimpse of Harudo, and when she does, she starts sobbing. Later at home, Misaki asks Ayano not to come to their home as she gets jealous of her beauty, saying she doesn't want to end up hating her. Hearing this, Ayano comforts her, and they both exchange an emotional moment. In the next scene during a regular checkup, Misaki's doctor reveals to Takashi that her condition is not good, and it is going to get worse very quickly. He also predicts that Misaki will probably not live to see the spring. The news devastates Takashi, but he still puts on a happy face and buys a Christmas present for his little sister. It's a winter hat that's the same color as the cherry blossoms. One day, Takashi finds a personal note of Misaki in which she wishes to end her life. He then notices another one in which she has mentioned her desire to see Haruto. Because of this, Takashi meets up with Harudo and tells him the truth. After learning about her disease, Harudo goes to Misaki's place and confesses his feelings for her from outside her room. Inside, Misaki gets emotional, but doesn't even have the energy to cry properly. Meanwhile, Harudo keeps visiting her every day and describes everything about his daily life from outside the room. Misaki is really happy to be able to hear his voice every day and to know he still loves her. One day, Harudo says, "Next year, we will visit a lot of different places. Let's watch the cherry blossoms again. We'll have some drinks and party. In summer, we'll watch the fireworks. In the fall, we'll go camping and see pretty leaves. We'll cook food over an open fire. In winter, we could go to a hot spring or make a snowman together and have a snowball fight with your brother. We'll do all that. We'll make a lot of memories." Upon hearing this, Misaki gets emotional. Harudo also tells Misaki about an exhibition where he is presenting his photographs for the first time. With a happy tone, he then invites Misaki to be with him there. Misaki is initially hesitant, but when Takashi suggests she live her limited life to the fullest, she finally agrees. In the next scene, Misaki eventually steps outside her home and visits the exhibition. Wearing a red coat and the cherry blossom-colored hat which her brother had gifted her, she walks slowly with a stick in her hand and enters the gallery. A lady escorts her to the room where Harudo Asakura's photographs are displayed. She observes the displayed pictures and realizes each picture captured the spots where she and Harudo shared moments with each other. When she looks at the photo of her salon, she recalls meeting him for the first time. Next, the picture of a cherry blossom tree reminds her of Harudo's promise to work and become a photographer. In another picture, Harudo has captured the corridor outside her room, where he first saw her without makeup and told her she's beautiful. Meanwhile, Harudo goes to her place to pick her up, but learns that she has gone to see the photographs. So he immediately heads back to the exhibition. Elsewhere, Misaki is slowly returning home with the help of her stick. Unfortunately, her weak body gives in, and she falls down on the snow. Devastated with what she has become, she starts screaming in anger. And just then, she notices Harudo running towards her and becomes happy. Sadly, he doesn't recognize her and simply helps her up. He then hands over her cherry blossom-colored hat, and Misaki thanks him with a smile. Then, Misaki passes away. Harudo isn't invited to the funeral, and later when he meets up with Takashi, the latter reveals that it was Misaki's wish to keep her funeral private. After a while, Harudo gets permission to enter her room, and as he is looking at all her belongings, he suddenly notices the cherry blossom-colored hat. Harudo realizes that he saw Misaki a few days back but couldn't recognize her. As a result, he cries his lungs out with deep regret. Eventually, everyone moves on with their lives, but Harudo is still depressed. One day, as he is about to end his life with scissors, Ayano knocks on the door. She then hands him a letter, which was written by Misaki. In the letter, Misaki mentions how happy she was in the last days of her life and how good it felt to step outside. She writes that after looking at his photographs, she realized that her age and appearance could change, but one thing that could never change was those pictures and the memories associated with them. Before finishing the letter, she asks Harudo to never stop taking pictures and to achieve his dream. This motivates Harudo, and he decides to continue his work despite the guilt he carries for not recognizing the love of his life. Back in the present, Harudo visits the cherry blossoms and takes pictures of them, reminiscing the time spent with Misaki. He keeps coming to this place every spring, remembering his love like the falling petals.